Welcome to the ODD Collective Radio Show, and where the agendas are only to tell our stories our way. Where an eclectic group of hosts deliver a different show every Sunday. The show is produced by Ever Beyond Radio and broadcasted over Wolf Spirit Radio Network. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our worlds.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Joyce Wheeler of It's Your Life, Live It to the Fullest. Today is Sunday, April 24th, 2016, and you're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio and Ever Beyond Radio. Please remember that we're listener-sponsored radio stations and click those buttons and show us some love. Tonight I have with me Stephanie and Walt, and we are going to be discussing various aspects of Shungite. Before we get started, Stephanie, why don't you tell us where you live and what you do and a little bit about yourself so the listeners can get to know a little bit about you.
Hi, Joyce. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
My name is Stephanie. Stephanie Shungite. Everything I do is Shungite. I'm the president of Cosmic Reality Shungite, and I work alongside Walt. And it was just an honor to connect with you, Joyce, and your Heavenly Body skincare line, because the importance of skincare we are all multidimensional light beings here. And the importance of the skincare, especially infused with the Shungite, it is just absolutely magical. If people are not familiar with what Shungite is, it is a mineral from Russia, and the magic inside of the Shungite is a molecule called the fullerenes. And what the fullerene is it is a manipulation of energy. As we know, the universe, everything is a unique energy field. So as we're living in this toxic world with everything full of chemicals, I mean, we're breathing it in, it's in our water, we're putting this, the skin is our largest organ, and we're putting toxic chemicals on our skin. So as we know, Shungite's fullerenes are energetically powerful molecules, and when this all comes in contact with your product, it emulsifies it to make it truly a cream for heavenly light bodies.
Maybe I need to change the name. The Heavenly Light Bodies instead of Heavenly Bodies. Share a little bit about your story, because I sent you the 2 facial scrubs, and now the nighttime facial scrubs actually has Shungite powder in it, but the daytime scrub doesn't. And I knew you had Shungite, so I didn't include anything. Tell them what happened when you put the Shungite in the daytime scrub.
Right. So you send me the daytime cream, which the facial scrub, and what was in there is the French green clay, the shea butter, the Comfrey, and the olive oil, and the sea salt. And the other one, I think, was that the one with the bentonite clay the bentonite clay? I think so. Right, so the other one that did not have the Shungite in it was with the bentonite clay. And we all know also that the bentonite clay is a very powerful toxin releaser. It will remove toxins right out of water, pull stuff right out of your skin, very powerful. So the one with the Shungite nugget in it was very creamy, energy in your hands. It was so amazing. And the other one without the Shungite was chunky. It was chunky. It was very hard to work with. It was gritty. It was coarse. And once I put the Shungite nugget in the other one, it went into that creamy texture again. So we know it's the energy of the Shungite enhancing every herb. And I think it's going to be very important to talk about the organic Comfrey herb. I would like you to tell everybody about what this is, because this is really the magic in your skincare. And then I'll go into some more examples of what's been going on with the healing salve.
Well, Comfrey is a miraculous plant, actually. It rejuvenates the skin cells very fast. So I actually had to put a warning on my healing salve that if you had an open wound or even anything that looked like it was infected, you should not use it. Because Comfrey does rejuvenate skin cells so fast, it will actually seal the infection inside the skin. Comfrey has been used for bruises. It can actually heal broken bones. It's just a very, very powerful herb, but one which should just be used externally. Herbalists kind of go back and forth whether it should be used internally or not. But seeing as how I wouldn't call myself an herbalist, I just go ahead and use it externally. And in my products, it works very, very, very well.
Yeah, when we first got the healing salve, you kind of were marketing it for bug bites, rashes, scrapes, all of that. And what we noticed is that we're putting it on our back aches, our neck aches, and it's literally removing any type of pain out of your muscles. Pains, toxins, and this goes back to the fact that we do know that everyone has EMF radiation poisoning in their muscles.
Right.
So this is why this cream is so important to be using. I mean, I'm putting it on my cuticles right now. I like anoint my third eye with it when I go out. I have it all over my skin. People say, oh my God, you're glowing. And I'm in the sun like every day because I'm in South Florida. I love the sun. It's my agent. And I'm telling you what this has done for my skin. I lovingly call it like the Shungite Botox because it really is. It just tightens up everything on your skin. And this is the magic of that Comfrey. It's literally stitching your skin together and it's smoothing out wrinkles. And it's just very powerful.
So you're using the healing salve like that? You're using it to put on and go outside? Or
yeah, I put on the healing. I do the daytime cream and the night cream, but I always have the healing salve on my face and on my neck, especially rubbing it into the lymph nodes. And then I'll put makeup on over it. Whatever, but it's always on. And my daughter, she had a cold sore pop up the other day on her lip. And this was a new thing. And, she went right for the salve. And I remembered, I said, well, Joyce says you shouldn't put it on an open wound, but intuitively, if that's what you're thinking, go ahead and do it. And I'm telling you, it cleared it up. 24 hours, gone.
Wow. How many
and
times?
You know how nasty those things could be with the cracking and the bleeding and.
Yeah. How many times did she put it on?
She took it to school with her. So whatever she was doing, she had her own routine. She energetically knew how to heal herself.
That's amazing. That is totally awesome to hear. And is Walt here? Walt, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Walt.
Hi, Walt.
Hello there, Chief.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you.
So, Walt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where you come from? What kind of work you do?
Well, that would be a long story, so we'll just have to cut it short.
We've time.
I stumbled onto the Shungite phenomena because for 10 years I worked on the orgonite field, people doing the metal resin mixes to transmute, stagnant argon to positive argon. So I evolved out of that because as time progressed, I kept making changes to my designs, making it better to address this whole issue of, negative energy. But then at one point, someone that I knew sent me the show recording of JP interviewing Nancy Hopkins, where she spoke at length of what Shanghai was all about and what it did. And she dropped so many clues, and I grabbed those and I made stuff with it. And I was so impressed by what Shanghai can do. I mean, to this day, we continue doing tests and experiments, and there's no end to what we discovered. One of the concepts that are thinking about what you do, incorporating the Shungite powder into the salves and ointments and lotions that you make. It's a perfect candidate for one of the things that we discovered regarding the Shungite, because the Shungite has this huge sacred geometry field, active field. It is psychoactive. It reacts to your thoughts and intentions. In fact, so much so that when we come across individuals who say, oh, it's just a dead rock, I don't feel anything, it doesn't do anything, if you take a moment to study the person, you'll see that they're coming from such a negative state of mind that Shungite doesn't turn on for you. If you're like a super negative person, or you have intentions of, oh, this is a powerful stone, I'll use it to get back at so-and-so, it doesn't do anything. It just will not turn on. It will not activate, because it is the nature of the Shungite to grab negative energy, regardless of what it is. If it's orgone energy, EMF energy, if it's negative in its essence, it will change the spin back to positive. So when we make a device that's enabled with Shungite, meaning that the energy that's being moved is in tandem with, in synergy with the Shungite, the devices react to your intention. So you can tell your device turn on, turn off. You can tell it to pulse. And lately we've been experimenting with something that I call state mode, where you command your device to generate a state of being. So like, for example, state mode, unconditional joy. So thinking along those lines, that's perfectly applicable to what you make. If you have an issue, like let's say you have a blemish on your skin and you're putting on one of the preparations that you make, you can command the preparation, okay, clear this patch of skin or straighten this patch of skin. And the Shungite is going to get to work, because your physical body, it's an energy projection. Why shouldn't it work?
Conscious cosmetics.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
So
it
Joyce
really
is the pioneer of conscious cosmetics.
Once again, I guess they had to change the name, but now we've got 3 names. We've got heavenly light bodies, heavenly bodies, and conscious cosmetics. So maybe
I love that. And I'm sorry to interject, but I have to give an example of the programming of the healing salve. I have a friend who had really bad yeast programming, and JP taught us about the yeast program. These are literal bots in your body. And what was happening is she was allergic to this yeast programming, and once she got Shungite in her life, her whole energy body started detoxing. So her skin was breaking out all on a rash on the right side of her back. That's where the yeast was coming out. So it was so red and inflamed. She took the healing salve and she programmed it with her intentions and deleted all contracts of the yeast programming in her body. And she showed it me within 24 hours. It's almost non-existent. That is the power of the thought form and the intention, especially when you're breaking the contracts.
That's amazing.
Perfect example.
Yeah, it is. One thing I'd like to talk about is something that's kind of I've been questioning. Now, we get our water from a well, and then we have a Berkey that we filter it through. Now, in the Berkey, I have 4 Shungite nuggets. Is that enough? Is there a number of Shungite, say, that you should use in like 8 ounces of water, 16 ounces of water, or like in my Berkey, is there any specific amount that should be placed in?
The device that you describe, what you call that, a Berkey?
Yeah, it's a water
filter.
filter.
Is that Berkey with a B like boy or B like Victor?
B like boy.
B like boy. Is this metallic? Is the structure metallic?
I think it is. Yeah, why?
Because if it's metallic and magnetic, don't remove the nuggets, obviously, but use a Shungite magnet, because Shungite loves energy fields, and you give it an energy body and it just takes off. And when we give Shungite a magnetic field to play with, it's like Shungite on what do they call that? Steroids. and it would actually enhance the work of that filtering unit. It would be like having, several pounds of Shungite. But okay. I don't know if the container is metallic or if it'll take a magnet can be attached to the body, because then all the magnetic lines are flowing in the material. So the entire, like when you put it on a fridge, because the box of the fridge is magnetic, ferromagnetic, the entire fridge is now vibrating to the energy signature of the Shungite. That's why we found that it makes the fridge colder, milk lasts more than 3 weeks, vegetables last, the food tastes better. Everything is being transmuted by that Shungite field.
Okay, but how about having the Shungite nuggets in the water filter? Is 4 enough, or do I have to have more? Does it depend upon how much water you have, or does it not matter?
What I know is what I was taught by Nancy. When there's 2 or more pieces, there's more synergy between them because each one has its own little bit of signature energy. So they bounce off of each other, creating a more complex field. So following that reasoning, I would gather that more is better, but up to a point, because the basic is 3. That's that's at least what I was taught in a shamanic journey when I went to see Nancy's guides and get more insight into the Shungite. They showed me that the basic number for the Shungite is 3. If you have 3 pieces of Shungite, it's what lets you create a coherent window into the quantum field. So if you were to have at least 3, that would be enough to affect all of that water. I don't know if that answers your question.
3 seems to be involved in a lot of things. I'm seeing the number 3 and hearing about number 3. Do you know anything about the number 3 and, its frequency or numerology or anything like that? Because I'm hearing 33333.
Well, 3 is what you need for the spiral to grow, because if you go binary, just 2 poles, you have stagnation because all you have is the 2 extremes. But if you look at motion of everything in space, the motion of planets through space, the motion of the stars through space, despite the fact that we talk about the great cycles, yes, we can talk about the yearly cycle, for example. Okay, this is January 1st. In a year's time, it'll be January 1st again. Yeah, but the Earth is not it's not transversing the same spot in space where it was a year ago, because the motion of the planets through space is a spiral. So that's why, to me, the 3 is significant, because that's what it takes. And if you're looking at pure geometry, that's what it takes to create a plane. You need 3 points.
Okay. So going back to the water question. So then it doesn't matter. So the thing was, would you say that if somebody had a glass of water or had like a water filtration system like we do, like the Berkey, you would say put at least 3 of the Shungite nuggets in it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Now, when we tell people to duct tape 3 nuggets also to their pipes on their water systems in their home, have you done that?
No, because I found the instructions a little bit, I couldn't understand them. And that was another reason I wanted to talk about this, because I'm like, I can't figure out which pipe. And like, we've got the water heater. And the thing is that right now the well is not hooked up to the house because it needs some work done to it. So for our drinking water, I will not drink the city water, even because our Berkey doesn't have the filters for filtering out the fluoride right now. So I actually go out to the well and get the water and bring it into the house to fill up the Berkey. But all the other water being used for washing clothes, washing ourselves, everything else is coming from the city water. And it's like you said, Stephanie, our skin is the biggest organ on our body. Whatever we put on it is absorbed. And I actually found out that it's absorbed in 26 seconds. That's all it takes for our body to absorb whatever we put on it. And that's going directly into our bloodstream. So that needs to be addressed. But anyway, going back to the Shungite on the water pipes. Now on my well, that's where my confusion was. Where would I put it? Or does it matter? Because it's a well.
Well, so when the well is, whatever this issue is addressed, will the well have a water main pipe connected to the house?
It's already connected to the house.
But you said that you're not drawing from it for the house.
No, we're not drawing. There's something that where the water spigot is, where it actually is supposed to run through the piping to come into the house. Right now that's off. That's not connected. So my husband is working like 6 days a week and just has had no time to go ahead and fix it. Well, that's going to end soon because he's quitting his job and finding something else so he can have more time to do things around the house. Okay. But as of right now, that's why it's not hooked up. So I can go out there and I can put it where the water comes out, but the water's not going into the pipes it needs to go into to actually come into the house.
Correct. So you would wait until all that's finally repaired if you want to put nuggets on the pipe.
Right. But
because right now it's kind of pointless if the water well is not going into the house. It's kind of pointless to put nuggets on the pipe.
No, but I need to know where to put them once it's hooked up.
Well, on the intake pipe. Whatever pipe is bringing the water into your home, whatever intake pipe that is where you're going to duct tape 3 nuggets.
Okay.
That's it. And like we mentioned about the magnets, again, these magnets are very powerful. Think of big machinery. I have one on my air conditioner unit. I have one on my washing machine, my dryer. I do not have one on my water heater because we found that the raw nuggets were more powerful. I have one on the fridge, and I even have one, Joyce, and I forgot to tell you this, on my metal tin of my healing salve.
Really?
I have a magnet sitting on that. So this would be another thing as you are producing these things, just stick a magnet on one of them.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Is it a magnet or is it the Shungite sticker?
The Shungite magnets. Anything metal. So of course this magnet loves this metal tin with the salve in it.
Well, that's what you can, if you have a metal tray that's ferromagnetic, that it'll take a magnet. That's another way to affect all the solutions that you make because, for example, with the cat food, I have 6 cats. With the cat food, the cans are not magnetic. If you put a magnet to the can, it doesn't stick. So what I do is I have a metal tray on the shelf, on the cupboard, where all the cans are sitting. And I have a magnet attached to the tray. So now the entire tray is resonating. It's acting like a resonant box, and it's affecting the cans and the food that's inside. So you could do that with the jars of what you prepare. You could have either a metal plate or a metal tray with a magnet. So whatever you're putting on that plate or in that tray is getting the Shungite field without touching Shungite.
Now it's enhancing it's enhancing everything in it. And his example with the food and the cat food, because Nancy did it. She had cans of tuna fish or whatever they were, Campbell's soup, full of GMOs, all of these brands that I don't even buy. And then was sticking magnets on it to actually transmute it. Now we're eating high vibrational food and you don't even have to try. That's why we're saying about the refrigerator, you could stick anything in this refrigerator and it's removing all of the toxins out of it by fueling the spin. And you know this because it's doing the same to your skincare with all of the herbs synergistically.
I'm sorry, I have to address something here. There's somebody in the chat that's saying to beware of the Berkey filters that he had one with extra PF2 filters that allegedly removed fluoride. He's saying he's gone through 3 sets of filters. Each time he started using them, within 3 days they stopped filtering city water. As I found the testing with it. Well, now we haven't had any problems with our Berkey like that. I'm wondering if it could maybe be something else, the approximately 350 parts per million dissolved. solids was the same going in the filters as coming out after 3 days. We've had our Berkey now for like 2 years or over 2 years, and we have not had any problems with our filters.
Is it a ceramic based filtration?
No, there's 2 sets of filters. The top filters are, I believe, carbon. And I'm not sure what the bottom ones are. I'm sorry, I'm not a very scientific person. My husband deals with that. We want to talk about words and writing. That's me. That's my niche. But anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to address that. The other thing I was wondering about is when it comes to other liquids, because now I've got the infused oil with the herbs, and I have a Shungite nugget in each one of the jars. But now, Walt, that you said I should have 3, I'm going to drop 3 in there. But I'm just wondering, will the Shungite also, the Shungite will also infuse the olive oil then too, won't it?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So
the reason I go for the magnets is because that way I don't have to be putting nuggets in things where sometimes you end up having to retrieve them because you're going to change containers or you're going to do something different. So with the magnets, I'm exposing the substances to the Shungite energy and amplified Shungite energy without the need of the physical contact. That's why I go that like. I'll give you a perfect example. The magnets are made with resin. The resin, the polyester resin that I get is made right here in the Twin Cities, and it tells you right off on the can. You have to work in a well-ventilated area because the fumes that it puts out when it's curing are toxic. They don't mince words. It tells you the fumes are toxic. You have to have good ventilation. So for years working with it, I was well aware how they stink, and sometimes I had to work when I had to work in winter that everything is closed off in the garage. I have to wear a respirator because I don't want to suck up all that stuff. What I did is, on the can, I put a Shungite magnet of the resin, and also I have a Shungite magnet taped to the little plastic bottle that contains the catalyst solution, the drops that you put in the resin to begin the curing process. So now, when I make resin pieces, it hardly has any smell. It doesn't stink anymore. Not the catalyst, not the resin, not when it's curing. Because the Shungite has transmuted all of that. And I'm not exposing the resin to the physical nugget. I'm just putting the magnet on because the can is metallic and it takes a magnet very well. The plastic bottle, it's plastic, so what I did is I took a bit of aluminum tape and just taped the magnet to the bottle, so the fluid inside is being exposed to that magnetic field. And I can work without a mask. The resin no longer stinks.
Wow, that's amazing. So I could go ahead and get some kind of metal tray to put even my oils on while they're infusing, and then put my finished product on, and I just get a Shungite magnet and put it on there.
Yeah. And it's affecting all of the stuff that you're working with.
That's cool. Now I want to share something with you. When I'm making my creams, I have noticed that my cream is very temperamental. I cannot have, and I don't know if it's the frequency. Now I make sure that I go ahead and I do some Qigong before I get started to get my good energy up and to, meditate and get a positive mindset and whatnot, because I realize that, especially with water, it will absorb any frequencies, whether good or bad or indifferent, and that it's just, anything you say, anything you feel, anything you think will be infused in that water. Well, one day I went to make some cream for a customer, and the oil separated. The whole batch was a mess. So I tried it 2 more times, and all 3 batches messed up. None of them were good. So then I started thinking about the frequency in the house. My daughter was here at the time with her boyfriend's brother. They weren't really getting along well. She had just been through a whole bunch of stuff, and the light bulb went off in my head that it's the frequency in the house. The negative frequency is causing my cream to mess up. So after she left, I took some sage and I smudged away. No, I didn't. I couldn't get the sage. But I went and I tended to the negative vibration with some essential oils is what I did for 2 days. I waited until Saturday and then I made my cream and it came out perfect. Now the other day, I was making cream and I was listening to a video about Qigong and making the cream at the same time. And then my son came in and started talking to me. And it was just a regular conversation. It wasn't nothing negative, nothing positive, you know what I mean? And the cream messed up. So I was like, what is going on here? So when I went to make the next batch again, I went, all right, fine. No talking. Nobody can talk. I put on some soothing music and no talking. It was just thinking in my mind how beautiful and creamy this cream was going to turn out, how it was going to help so many people, and it came out fine. So I'm just wondering, do you have any ideas what's going on here?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's, in fact, that's really old. That comes from the old, the old countries in Europe. I've seen my mom has done it, and I've seen my grandfather do it. When, especially babies, there's sometimes, like the old people, from the old country, sometimes when babies get very finicky and they're crying all the time and they get a colic and they don't understand what's going on, they always say, oh, somebody gave this baby the evil eye or something like that, right? So, so you go to your local, soothsayer or faith healer or whatnot, to help the baby. And I have actually witnessed this, and it must be a way to clear, from what I know, it must be a way to clear negative energy. And what they do is, they take just a plate of water, just clean water, and they put it on the table so they can look at the surface of the water. And, depending on the person who's doing it, everyone is different. Like one person will be doing it focusing on the other person's problem, or another person will be doing it while they say their favorite prayer. But the point is this. They'll take a dropper and they'll take just normal cooking oil and they'll let a drop of oil fall on the surface of the water. Now, as you know, oil and water don't mix, correct?
Right.
Okay. But as they're doing this, it's the most amazing thing to see that the oil actually begins to break up and expand.
Oh.
Creating shapes on the surface of the water, like a big membrane, as opposed to clumping into a little drop, which is what you expect oil to do. So when they see that happening, they finish their prayer or whatever they're doing, and they dump that water on the oil and they bring a fresh plate, and they keep doing it. And after 2, 3, maybe 4 times of doing this, they get to a point where they drop a drop of oil, same dropper, same little bottle of oil, on the surface of the water, and it just stays like a little oil lens. It doesn't open, it doesn't separate, it doesn't expand. It just stays steady as a drop of oil, and they'll drop 1, 2, 3. And when they see that the oil remains complete and, contained within its drop, then they know the work is done. The person is clear.
Very interesting.
So yeah, the thing will resonate with those moods. Now, since you're putting the Shungite in your preparations, I don't know at which stage of the preparation the Shungite gets incorporated, but now you can program the Shungite, complete psychic protection for all my preparations, something like that, a program like that. So no matter who you're arguing with in the house, your preparation will never be affected.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing. The cream is the only product that I use water in. All the other products, none of them use water. The cream uses water, and it's the only one that I have an issue with.
So protect the water. Put it in a container where you can put a magnet or where you have the Shungite on it, so that the Shungite can program the water for what you want. So well, the water will not.
That's the thing. Like I said, I've got the Shungite in my Berkey. so that it's infusing the water, and that's what I'm using.
Correct, but if you want the Shungite to do something else, you have to use your conscious intention. Just because the Shungite is there, it doesn't know what else you want. By its very nature, it'll do the spin conversion. It will do that. But if you want something further, like the full protection of the water or shielding the water from negative influences, that's where you come in. You're the human, you're the energy player. You're the energy manipulator. So you're doing it already. Like this preparation that you give yourself of doing Qigong. That's a form of energy manipulation. You know how to prepare yourself. Now you tell the Shungite what you want.
Okay. All right.
It'll be part of your preparation.
Yeah, I guess so. But, I told my husband and I told my boys, I said, from now on, when I'm creating cream, nobody can come in the room. It's got to be that way, because if anybody comes in, if there's actually the other day when I was making it, I messed up the first batch and then the second batch. And my son came in from work and I went up to him and I whispered to him, I was like, shh, don't talk. I'm making cream and it's very temperamental. It doesn't want to hear anybody talk. And I was showing him what happened to the first batch, how it was all clumpy and the oils didn't bind. And then I was showing him the one that I just got done creating. And I said, it only likes soft music. You can't talk. And he looked at me and he was like, you're crazy, but it seems to work.
I was impressed when my mom, taking a clue from your description on your website, she made using the coconut oil and distilled water and Shanghai powder. She whipped it all together to make like an ointment, and it turned, from, that coconut oil looks like a white paste. It turned like a very light, like violet almost, the color was a very light purple, like violet. And it remained like an ointment, very smooth ointment. And we were amazed because she fell in the backyard and she had a big bruise on her leg, and I applied it, and 6 hours later, there's practically nothing there on her leg. It's incredible how quickly the bruise got corrected. Whereas she has a very sensitive skin, and if she gets bruised, it'll be there for weeks. No, it was 6 hours and there was practically any mark where she got hit. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And I love how it turns purple, because my daughter was making some potions and she did well, I tell everybody, if you have coconut oil, put 3 nuggets in your coconut oil, because it's just going to energize it. But my daughter did it with the real aloe plant. She took the aloe plant and mixed it up, put Shungite nuggets in it, and it turned like this amazing energetic purple.
Really?
Yes.
Now you've got me thinking, because I used aloe vera in the cream. And I'm thinking maybe I need to go ahead and drop some nuggets in there. Maybe I need to drop some nuggets in everything.
Nuggets in everything. Nuggets and magnets. So yeah, this is conscious cosmetics. And I want to bring something up because I have to, leave in a few minutes around 5:00. But in talking about conscious cosmetics, Walt, were you on the show when Nancy was talking about, she was using a description of someone who had Botox and the paralyzing of the muscles and how they were short-circuited?
No, I wasn't, I did not hear a show when she spoke of that.
I don't remember what she was saying, but it brought up a good point, because so many women are walking around and getting Botox injections. And this is, and I know what it feels like. Okay. I've gotten Botox before. And how she explained it was an experience that I could not put into human words, because they do not tell you. You hear of some side effects, but they do not tell you the psychological side effects on how it short circuits your brain. They're literally injecting.
You know what the words you know what the word Botox stands for, correct?
No.
Oh, it's botulism toxin.
Right.
Botulism is a bacteria that it's commonly found. Like, for example, if you have canned goods and they go bad, it's a bacteria that it's very toxic. I mean, it's not the bacteria that kills you if you consume it. It's the toxin that it produces. It's like tetanus. Tetanus.
Well, it does kill people. It does kill people. It almost killed me.
Well, that's what they did is they learned how to isolate the toxin, because the toxin is like a muscle relaxant. You inject it, it relaxes the muscle. You know, it like you said, it blocks the signals that would kind of contract the muscle, and by relaxing the muscle, then the skin on top of the muscle begins to stretch a bit, because now there's nothing pulling on it, but you are literally putting a toxin in your body. So that the concept alone is highly unhealthy.
Highly unhealthy. And, you know, the energetic concept of it is that they're having you, it's a program to inject this deadly toxic chemical right into your third eye. So what's happening is that you are absolutely numb from all emotions. What Nancy was saying was that it was not a feeling you can put into human words when your brain was short-circuited, that you wanted to smile and you couldn't, and you wanted to feel anger and you couldn't, because of the embodied cognition of the brain and the facial muscles, how important to have that feeling. It rips all emotions out of you and completely stunting your emotional development. So I understand why they have a programming out there. You know, they tell you in your young 20s, start Botoxing treatment, because it's going to paralyze your muscles. You won't get wrinkles when you're older. And this is exactly what's going on with women. And they make it seem like, you know, this is just okay. You could go, my dentist was giving out injections. Like, you could just go to the dentist, get it. You know, it was like anything. So this is very dangerous, but now this is why I'm so into this, you know, conscious cosmetics, because women need to know what's going on. And now all you have to do with your intention is use your creams. I see other women out there, they're not even using Joyce's creams, but they have Shungite in their life, and they're using some other skincare line that's all natural, and they have the same effects of the glowing skin as I do, because they understand the intention, they understand the energy. These are women in their 60s that I'm looking at them going, oh my God, you have no wrinkles, your skin looks amazing. It's unbelievable. And then they say, well, thank you for understanding that everything's energy. And this is what we can do to our skin now.
Well, that's the Shungite glow.
Yep.
So now we have Conscious Cosmetics. Get the Shungite glow. Get the Shungite glow with Conscious Cosmetics. Well, as of right now, it's actually Heavenly Body Products. And if anybody's interested, they can go to heavenlybodies7.com. I want to just let everybody know we are not able to ship internationally, so only if you're in the U.S. So Stephanie, is there anything else that you want to add?
Well, if you have any more questions, I can, you know, elaborate on some more, things about your skincare line.
No, at this point I don't. I would like to talk, about the Shungite itself, you know, about the history, where it came from, how it got here, and how it was originally being used.
Okay, we can. Well, we know that it's coming from Russia, and we know that Peter the Great, he used it in the water. What was that war? I'm so bad on the history because I'm just, you know, I don't know what the war was. Maybe JP or Walt knows that history. with Peter the Great in Russia with the Russian Empire?
Well, I know that the soldiers were given to carry Shanghai nuggets with them because wherever they went, whenever they would find a water source that would be available, they would put the nuggets into the water before, I don't know if they waited a certain amount of time, but they would put it in the water in order to decontaminate the water when they went, because obviously given the historical context, it's not like you can walk into a store on your way to war somewhere and buy several bottles. You just have to make do with what you find in the wild. So the guys were issued Shungite nuggets to treat the water before drinking it.
So how did they come to realize that this had some kind of power? And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it like a meteorite or something like that actually, how did it get here? And why is it only in Russia?
Well, I know it's been here for billions of years, and I told Nancy I did a shamanic journey to get an idea where this thing was happening from, and it did not form on the planet. It formed in interstellar space, because only in a zero gravity environment would you have the molecules arrange themselves in this shape like a soccer ball. When you're in the effect, that's why they did so many. You remember when Skylab was up in the sky before it came down? That was the subject of many of their experiments, when they did experiments for the metal industry, that they could get the most exotic metals in the zero G environment, because now the molecules could grow and expand and take on certain geometries, whereas on a planet's surface, you're under the effect of gravity, and gravity gets into everything, and it affects the structure of what you're making. So there was no choice. The complex molecule formed in interstellar space. In fact, when Nancy spoke about that, I remember reading a book back in the 70s, co-authored by an Indian scientist and a British astronomer. And the book is called Life Cloud. And the subject of the book is that, I don't know if you've heard of this, there's in the field of astronomy, they have a type of test that's called spectral analysis, where you know that if you take a beam of white light and you pass it through a prism, it breaks up into multiple colors, right?
Right.
Now, when you have light coming from an energetic reaction like the fusion reaction of a star, those colors represent chemical compounds, chemical signatures. So scientists, have these very sophisticated instruments on the telescopes where they break down the light and they do a spectral analysis. So by breaking down the light coming off of the star, they can tell you, the star has so much percentage of this mercury and all and silver and gold and all the other basic elements that make up solid matter. So the authors of the book, they focused on doing spectral analysis of the giant cosmic dust cloud, because right now, you've seen those pictures of the desert when they photograph the arm of the galaxy,
right,
and nothing else. You see the arm of the galaxy. Well, you should be seeing the center of the galaxy. You should be able to see at night in a clear sky in a desert or mountain or wherever. You should see more than the arm of the galaxy. You should be able to see the center of the galaxy where the stars are so close together. The reason we cannot from this location of Earth is because between us and the galactic center, there's a giant cloud of cosmic dust. So when you see the arm of the galaxy, you're seeing the stars along this outer edge of this cloud. So the authors of the book, the Life Cloud, they were doing spectral analysis to get an idea what is the cloud made of. And they checked and double checked, and they had the spectral analysis done in different countries to make sure that they were not fooling themselves or not. But every time they would do an analysis, spectral analysis of the energies coming off of the cloud, they kept getting the signature for cellulose. And they were like astounded. How can you get cellulose in outer space? Cellulose is a very large, complex molecule, which is what you find in plants. It's a very long stream of carbon atoms to make up this protein called cellulose. And so that was the substance of the book, that life in reality, the seeds of life were born in interstellar space, not so much so on the surface of a planet, and then it got seeded onto planets. So that book kind of parallels what I saw in my journey, that this very complex molecule did not form on a surface. It formed in interstellar space, and it just came in. And why it was the whole thing dumped in one place on Earth, I can't explain that. I was just interested in seeing, where this came from. But that's why it's only in this particular spot, because if it were naturally occurring, like, for example, quartz, you see quartz naturally occurring all over the planet, right? Wherever you go, you find quartz. Water, right. Wherever you go, you find water, whether it's solid or vapor or liquid. But Shungite, it's not naturally occurring, so you don't find it everywhere. It's on the spot. Another indicator.
Sorry to interject, but
no,
it's the, especially for your skincare, the most important thing to know is that it's the C60 molecule in it is what he's talking about. And there was actually a rat study done by a Russian scientist and professor about the health benefits of the C60 molecules in humans. And they found that this molecule is going to be very important in medicine to protect against the effects of aging and cancer, immune system deficiencies. And in the study, they found that old mouse brains got rejuvenated when the mouse took the C60 molecule. And suddenly they were performing much better than even baby mice who were like, little babies, 3 months old. And they dismissed all effects about placebos. And what they noticed, all the beneficial effects were that they had more energy, less sleep needed, cognitive mental improvements, calmer reduction in stress, cardiac improvements, higher libido, and most importantly, faster recovery of the skin after a sunburn. So when I was reading that, I said, no wonder my skin looks great. Like, I bake in the sun. I don't put anything on me except for Shungite coconut oil. And then I have your products for after. No sunspots, no sunburns. We get no sunburns. We're just a glowing bronze brown. This is the C60, and I think that it's directly related to the oxidative stress levels. So it's again, when I say that, it's hard for people to understand this that don't understand energy, this is conscious cosmetics for light bodies, as we are all energy and we are all light bodies. Does this make sense? With the C60, do you understand that science?
Yeah, it's C60, so it's actually in the Shungite.
That is the fullerene or the buckyball. The sacred geometry is called the C60 molecule. Okay, and that is where when Peter the Great set up Russia's first spa. In Russia and Europe, they have all of these Shungite healing spas everywhere.
What's really interesting is that you brought up about being out in the sun, and we went down to the Gulf yesterday, and I ended up getting a little bit of sun on my arm, burned. And I came home and I took a shower and whatnot, and I put the cream on it, and then a little bit on my leg. And I told my husband this morning, and I said, look, it's gone. And he was like, wow. He's like, it's not even warm. You know how usually when you get a sunburn, it's like warm in that spot? It wasn't even
like. You get a fever. It's a skin fever.
Right. Well, there was no warmth to where I was burned, and the redness was gone. So that's very interesting. My husband's here, and I think he wanted to say something concerning what Walt was talking about?
I have
Sure.
one other thing, and your husband Randy will relate to this. Is one thing that is totally unique about Shungite in terms of minerals is most of the time you take a piece of jet or obsidian and you put an electrical test meter across it and it'll just register nothing, no conductivity. It doesn't conduct electricity. But you take a random piece of Shungite, and I love doing it, just taking a random piece and taking my electrical continuity tester, which beeps when there's a connection, and you put it across and it goes beep right across it. It's a very impressive thing that this material that feels like plastic or stone, it performs like metal. And that's where you can here's a thing, right? I want to see this in reality is, Kevlar mixed with Shungite. What do you think, Walt?
What would you use it for?
Well, it would be a shield that would, be able to take any impact, whether it be, kinetic or electromagnetic. And it could be quite thin. Don't you think?
Makes sense.
A little compound that could be molded.
You left out that when you put Shungite in not only does it conduct electricity, but when you put it in a circuit, there's actually more power in the circuit with the Shungite than without.
And it has a polarity, doesn't it? It has a movement.
Yep.
It's almost it's almost like having a load of tiny little paddle wheels all traveling in the same direction. If you get the flow right, it'll just send them along further. Well, like I said, here's the thing. I have an open stove, not an open stove, but a wood burning stove, right? So I'm around fire all the time, and I'm forever forgetting that I am just a mere mortal human. I pick up really hot things and burn my hands. I realized, and I'm sitting there. You're all talking about how it helps you heal quickly. I'm surrounded by Shungite. I'm always moving a piece of Shungite around, and that's probably what's healing my hands because I don't see a burn the next day. It's always gone. So
that's true.
So it may, and as I said, I've got these things that I showed you before, and they're just exactly where I am all the time. So I'm surrounded by big pieces, probably like Nancy as well.
We have to take a break, and I know that Stephanie has to go. Stephanie, I really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you for joining us. And you're listening to It's Your Life, Live It to the Fullest. I'm your host, Joyce Wheeler. And it is it's Sunday, April 24th, 2016. You are listening to Wolf Spirit Radio and Ever Beyond Radio. Remember, we're listener sponsored, so please show some love and donate. We'll be back after this break.
We're back.
Okay. Welcome back. You're listening to It's Your Life, Live It to the Fullest. I'm your host, Joyce Wheeler. It is Sunday, April 24th, 2016. You are listening to Wolf Spirit and Ever Beyond Radio. Remember, we're listener donated, so click that donate button and show some love. And today I am talking with Walt Sylvia, and we are discussing Shungite and various aspects of it. So Walt, are you there?
Yes. Hi. It's Silva, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you from? Where are you from?
I was born and raised in Argentina.
Ah, okay. My husband wanted to address something when you were talking about how Shungite was formed in the universe. My husband wanted to address something like that, so I'm going to put it over to him, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Walt, this is Randy.
Hi, Randy.
Listen, my first question is, this is found in eastern Russia, as I understand. Do you know about how much of it is actually available? Is there a large quantity there, or is it a small area, or?
I've heard Nancy say that there's something like 1,000 kilometers of the area where most of it is contained. But I guess you would have to look on the internet, see what the statistics are on the location.
Okay. And do you have any idea how much that like the U.S. government and other governments have purchased of this material?
I do not. All I know, the latest thing that I found out was that the Chinese had bought all the rights to it. So it must be something super powerful if they're involved.
Yeah, this is very true. Well, and I was wondering, it makes you wonder if this landed in eastern Russia, and that's the only place that it's located. The Earth in comparison to the universe is an extremely small place.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there must be a lot more of this stuff out there somewhere, along with other things that I'm sure that we don't know exist at this point. But I was seeing the other day where they're planning to send men. The U.S. government has intentions to send men to Mars in approximately 2030. And why would you risk sending someone to that far of a distance unless it was going to be well worth your time? So I was curious.
Well, but that's what you're quoting is what they tell the public. There have been people on Mars for decades. It's the secret space program is alive and well, and it's just that the common Joe on the street doesn't know anything about it.
So they're going because the government doesn't do anything unless it's profitable or worth their while to go. So there's got to be reasons why they are there. Well, listen, my second question is this: is there a way that anyone has found at this point to shape Shungite?
Yes, if you peruse internet sites selling Shungite, they file it down. They do egg shapes, pyramids, cubes. There are machine shops that do that, and they sell their wares. I think the Shungite store is a Russian website, and they feature some pieces of Shungite are shaped into the shape of a double tetrahedron, the Merkaba star tetrahedron. So yeah, it's out there. That others, there we go. Mr. JP appears to be showing a tetrahedron or pyramid. Sorry.
This is a 70 millimeter Shungite pyramid, polished from Karelia, Russia.
What I really meant when I say shape it, that's being done by taking it and basically milling it and filing it and
machine cut, polished.
Yeah.
You can also get tumblestones. I've got some tumblestones in the kitchen. I can bring them in that are tumbled and polished.
Has anyone experimented with a way to actually shape it into a particular shape that they wanted it without filing it?
What would be the purpose of doing that?
It would make it an extremely versatile material for a lot of things. Because back in the 1980s, before that, remember the space shuttle program? They had developed the Kapton that was the covering of the space shuttle. And the Kapton was developed by DuPont, and it was a material that would conduct heat, but would not conduct electricity. And so, but the problem that they had with it was nobody had ever found a way to shape it. Well, a little electronics company in Meridian, Mississippi, one of their engineers came up with an idea to use it to wrap voice coils of speakers on, which get very hot. In the past, they had been wrapped basically on paper. And when they would get hot, the paper would burn. So he came up with a way to shape the Kapton so that you could wrap a conductive voice coil on it. And the Kapton would not burn, and it would not conduct electricity, yet it would conduct heat. So that made it very valuable for that. If we found a way to shape Shungite by some means, then you can see its uses would be, my word, tremendous.
The thing is, it does conduct electricity.
Oh,
as I was saying, so it wouldn't be good for that particular purpose. You'd need something that was heat conductive, but not, and that's why, cardboard, sadly, is the only thing that does that.
So is Shungite heat conductive also?
It'll take a lot of heat, but it's, as I said, it's completely conductive. You can't wrap a coil around it. You'd need to insulate it anyway. You'd need to have a mica layer or something like that. consider, Shungite is like, this material graphene. It's very similar. It's really hard. There are other, and there's another version of Shungite called, Shungite Elite, which, I conducted a few experiments when we first got it, and I took a little point needle, a dental tool, and I scratched the surface. This is what happens. It doesn't just kind of splinter. It turns into a cloud of dust that blows away. It shatters to that fine a powder that it becomes a dust. How about that? This stuff is weird shit.
I hope to have time soon to be able to play with it a little bit myself.
Well, now I know when I was first researching the Shungite, this is before I met Nancy, I was working on an article on EMFs and looking for natural ways to deal with them. And that's when I first came across Shungite, wanted to know more about it. And when I started doing research, one of the articles that I read had stated that Russia actually created a room with Shungite. And when people would come in contact with radiation, they would put them in this room to heal. So I'm thinking that maybe when Randy was talking about forming it, maybe he means like that. I mean, because JP, you showed us that nice piece of Shungite, and I'm going, man, I want that on my floor. I can use this as a backsplash,
Oh, yeah. And they're about $10. I mean, they work out like ceramic tiles. And you can probably easily get a pallet of a ton or several tons come over of tiles, and you could tile your kitchen floor with them.
Could you show Randy that piece? I'm sorry, everybody else can't.
So, I can direct them to the eBay because anybody can buy one of these. It's not exclusive. But what I'm holding in my hand is, now, in terms of centimeters, what's that? It's, about 12 centimeters high. It's, about 12 millimeters thick. It's about half an inch thick. 5 inches high. And it's a pentagon-shaped Shungite tile that has been polished on one side. It's quite heavy. It's quite hot as I'm holding it up here. But it's lovely. I just put my tea on it.
What does a piece like?
$10.
No way. How much does it weigh?
About half a pound, I suppose. 500 grams. No, sorry. 400 grams, I think. I'll have to look. I don't think. Actually, what's 500? 500 grams is about a pound. It's quite heavy.
2.2 kilograms to a pound, correct?
I don't know. It's more than 200 grams. I can find out. I can go to the thing. I can't guess you. So anyway, it's a lovely piece. It's a really lovely piece, and it's got a little what they call they call it a schist, Walt, going through it. What is that thing that goes through it? This lovely sparkly bit. It's got pyrites.
Oh, you mean the pyrite?
Yes, pyrites and quartz. There's a seam that goes through it at an angle, so it's kind of spread in a different way. It's lovely.
To me, it looks like pyrite because all the specimens of Shungite that I work with, they have veins of pyrite going through it.
I would be interested because, you're talking pyrite and quartz, and those are both crystals.
Yeah.
And they have their own benefits. So I'm wondering, is the Shungite enhancing the pyrite and quartz, or are they working?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It's all synergy. They all work together. So you can have your crystal Merkaba sitting on top of your quartzite seam in your on top of your Shungite plate there.
Now, how would that affect the crystal, considering that crystals absorb energy?
Crystals absorb and transmit. They're like a sponge, if you like. If you squeeze them, if you put them under pressure, they'll radiate.
If I'm correct, though, not all crystals will put off energy. There's only some that put off energy and others that just totally absorb it. Am I wrong?
Well, this is natural science. This is piezo science. When you light a cigarette with your lighter, you're hammering a little crystal right? There's a little crystal inside that thing that makes the spark. That's where the energy comes from hammering a piece of crystal. So I'm not talking woo-woo here. I'm saying that if you squeeze a piece of crystal, it will emit energy, literally, quite measurably scientifically. Yeah? This is no woo-woo BS. This is what happens. It's called piezoelectricity. And it's how your cigarette lighters work. It's how your loudspeakers work as well. How the little beeper in your computer when you switch things on. All those are little crystals, and you electrify them and they start vibrating.
There is a difference, though, to all those crystals in the vicinity of Shungite.
Tell us what happens when you put a crystal near the Shungite. What's the Shungite difference, Walt?
Well, traditionally, especially quartz, you can use quartz for good stuff and for bad stuff, because all it is, you're using it for energy manipulation. And unfortunately, quartz does get contaminated. And that's why for people that, they have written whole books on clearing your crystals, and you wash them and you put them out in the sun, or you put them in brown rice. They have all these techniques for clearing the crystals, because especially quartz, it will pick up thought forms and energy charges. And unless you actively clear them, they'll be there. They'll be in the quartz. With Shungite there in tandem with the crystal, you don't have to do that. Because number one, you cannot contaminate Shungite. That's why the Shungite energy field breaks black magic spells. And if you have the Shungite working in tandem with another crystal, that crystal will always be clear. It'll process energy just fine, but you don't have to get it, you don't have to get into the job of clearing the crystal every so often. As long as they're working together, that crystal will remain clear.
All right,
which is what I wanted. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I have crystals. So if I wanted to clear them, would you suggest like what you were saying earlier, like put them on a tray?
Yep.
And put a magnet on them?
Yep. And then the Shungite field is just going to clear all that stuff out. That's why for people that have never been exposed to a Shungite nugget, especially men, and you give the person a Shungite nugget to wear, more often than not, in the first couple of weeks, the person will experience unexplained bouts of emotional states, like they'll get angry for no reason, or they'll snap, or they'll lose the patient really easy for something. And it's like, you're wondering, what the heck's going on with this? Is what we call it the Shanghai Detox. That energy field in the Shungite is bringing up all the stuff that's in you, that's negative energy. It's counterclockwise spinning energy. It's coming up to be released. It's not something that you have to waste your time. Oh, I'm feeling this way because in this year this happened. No, you don't have to waste that. Just be aware that it's there and just let it go. Release it. And I went through it. So I know what it feels like. And it's an energy detox. So if it does that to a living human body, it'll do that to the crystal. Because the crystal is containing, holding on to energy patterns. Now, it will, whatever is stuck in the crystal that's negative will be cleared out. But if there's energies in the crystal that are positive, that are beneficial, those will be left alone unless you make it your business to program the crystal in a specific way. The crystal remembers the program eternally unless you stop a program or choose to change it. This is where the human comes in. Energy manipulation 101 again, as we were discussing before.
All right, so let me ask you this. Because I'm thinking I've got my crystals displayed and I don't know that I want to put them on a tray. Is it possible that I could just surround them with Shungite, and would it still have the same effect on them?
Yeah, you can use, did you see that little piece that JP was showing on the camera, the little pyramid?
Yes.
Okay. In her book, the French scientist Regina Martino, who wrote the book Shungite, A Stone for Healing and Protection, she did studies specifically focused on the energy field of the Shungite and which crystals it worked with better. And one of the things that she found is that depending on the shape that the Shungite was shaped to was the form of the field it was putting out. So for example, she suggested for people to put in their bedrooms, like on their nightstand or, in the room where they sleep, she suggested either a sphere of Shungite or an egg-shaped piece of Shungite, because she found that those pieces would put out a spherical field very much like the human aura. So it would actually help even treat and clear your aura. Whereas she found that the cube-shaped pieces and pyramidal-shaped pieces, it would put out a specific field following the geometry of the pyramid. So those were more adequate for like a place like an entertainment center or a place of work where the person is just going there to have some activity and then they're going to take off and, be someplace else. So that's what she found, that the field being put out by the Shungite actually followed the geometry that it was shaped to.
Interesting.
So you could put an egg or a sphere of Shungite in the vicinity of your crystals, and all your crystals will be, will get treated.
Right. I'm kind of wondering, because I'm thinking about JP and him being surrounded by Shungite. Is that necessary to reap the benefits of Shungite?
No, it's just a personal choice.
It's just that I like the little forms around me. Everything's got a personality. Everything's got a little, a little quirk about it that makes them unique. Yet they all, I like the feel of them. And I also trade them. So, if anybody wants one of these, I can sell you one. So in a way, they're like, but they're also like experimental. I have them here, and I have a lot of equipment here. Lots and lots. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens, 6, 7 screens. I've got a lot of stuff that is buzzing away. So the more attenuation I can give it, the more kind of, let's tone things down, boys, I can give it, the better. That's why I have a lot around.
Right.
And I have lots and lots of technology around me, so it really helps.
And where are you getting I like the pyramids. Where did you get those?
I found a nice place in Russia. They take about 3 weeks to arrive.
Okay. I'd like to have that link, please.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat room, and I'll put it in the main chat room as well. Write it down. Okay.
JP. Okay. Let me see. Oh, the life of Shungite, like with me having it in the water, having it in the oil, is it similar like crystals to where at some point you have to take it out and rejuvenate it? I know that you said no, that you didn't have to cleanse it like you do crystals, but how long does this energy last? Is it like the Energizer Bunny and it just keeps going and going and going?
Well, the geometry makes it resonate with the quantum field. So if you have any plans of wearing out the quantum field anytime soon, that's how long it'll last.
Okay.
That's the big difference when we did the experiments with the regular Shungite as opposed to the silver saturated Shungite. But the regular Shungite, that's why it does what it does in detoxing and clearing stuff. That C60 geometry, not only is it changing the spin of the fields, whether it's the energy field of a toxin or the energy field coming off of a machine, but it's also pulling stuff back into the quantum field. It's like an endless sponge. But when I took the powder and silver saturated it, it was doing the opposite. It was literally bringing in energy from the quantum field. So that's why when we mix the two powders, it presented to be an ideal solution for high frequency applications like cell phones, cordless phones, Wi-Fi. Because when you apply the Shungite, like the sticker or Shungite nuggets to the power system in the house, that's very low frequency, In the US it's 60 hertz, in Britain it's 50 hertz. So it's quite adequate for transmuting that field. But when you're dealing with cell phones, cordless phones, and Wi-Fi, you're dealing with high frequency plus, very dirty signals, because there's a lot of harmonics in those. So just by itself, the powder wasn't enough. Not everything was being treated. So when we combined the two, it really treated that whole energy, so that the whole energy was being made to be biocompatible as opposed to being degrading.
Now, I want to ask you something, because when we got the powder, my husband tested it, and it did not show it giving off any energy. Like, we've got the pendants, and we got the pendants. He took, I don't know what it's called, and he just went to bed. But
how does he test it?
That's why I said he just went to bed, so I can't, because he does electronic repair. So he has tools that measure, I don't know if
you put a meter across the powder, you will get nothing. I'll tell you that right away.
Yeah, that's what he got. He got nothing.
Exactly.
Why is that?
Because of the space between the particles. If you take the powder and squeeze it, and put the meter probes in there and squeeze them all together with the powder, you will get continuity, because you're squeezing the particles together.
So if we take the powder, put it in between our fingers, and then hold on to that piece.
Well, try to wear gloves, because what happens is your fingers have continuity. You cannot take a meter. If you set it for millivolts, you will detect the electricity going through the body. Okay,
right. That's what I was thinking. So could you use like latex gloves?
Well, the way that I choose, if I had to do that, was I have like a tube, a non-conductive tube, and you can have, with end caps, and as long as the probes can pierce the end caps, and you can squeeze the thing in the tube, and then you get continuity. But, is there a point or just to put your mind at ease that yes, it is Shungite?
Oh, no, I got it from you. I know it's Shungite. That's why Nancy, when I was wanting powder, Nancy was like, well, go on eBay. And I'm like, I'm not going on eBay. I don't trust those people. And not only that, but because we can't test the powder, I don't know if it's real or not. So I'm like, no, talk to Walt for me and see if Walt will help me out with this.
Do you or your husband, do you do dowsing with the pendulum?
No.
Okay. Because I was never given a choice. I had to learn to do it or not. Because, in dealing with these energies like orgone energy and the direction of spin, I need to have an instrument that will test for that. And the only instrument I have is the human body. So that's how I know what the stuff is working. There's another way that I know that the Shanghai powder is Shungite, or at least the rocks that Nancy gave me is Shungite. And that's in my own biology, because, for example, you know this, that if a person is suffering from some form of diarrhea or a colic, they give you charcoal pills to kind of stop the process, like Imodium AD, they give you charcoal pills because the charcoal will stop the symptoms of diarrhea.
Right.
Well, I know the powder is not charcoal, it's not carbon, because when my mom puts it in the food, it actually softens the stool. It gives you, better bowel movement, which is the opposite of what charcoal does.
You eat it?
Yeah. My mom puts it in the food.
Really?
We have a bottle. She puts it in the food, and we also have a bottle with distilled water with some powder in it, and I just give it a shake, and I'll take a sip and early in the morning. And it's amazing how well you go to the bathroom.
So when you drink it, are your teeth turning black?
No, it's just a little sip. It tastes like, yeah.
I know that Colleen had used it to brush her teeth. I think she mixed it in with like baking soda or something else. I don't exactly remember. Maybe she'll share that in the chat. But she had told me that, just after she brushed and looked in the mirror and her teeth were black.
Oh, must have used quite a lot.
I don't know.
Well, that's one of the recipes. We came across this recipe where they're suggesting you brush your teeth with coconut oil because it actually helps to whiten the teeth. So I started using that mix that my mom made of the purple coconut oil. That's the one with the Shungite, and your teeth do end up looking white. So I know that works.
Well, Have you heard of oil pulling?
That's what the thing said, to brush your teeth with the coconut oil and then make sure you rinse your mouth with it.
Right, but with the oil pulling, what people are doing is they're like putting the coconut oil in their mouth and they're like swishing it around continuously in their mouth for like 15, 20 minutes. And they've done studies where they've shown that this actually helps to build up the teeth. So like we're being told that, once your teeth start decaying or rotting, there's nothing you could do about it. And now I'm hearing that that's not true in different studies from different countries where they have a lot of coconuts. These people have very healthy teeth.
Correct. Well, if the body is alive, why wouldn't it regenerate? I mean, that's one of the big things that the system of domination and control is set up to limit your creative powers. You know that. And the belief they say, up to when you reach a certain age, then the neurons don't reproduce anymore. If you have neurons in your brain that die, that's it. They die and they stay dead. And I remember that from school. That's the way they would teach it. Well, it's an absolute lie. Science has proven time and again that neurons that die give way to new neurons. And the brain will develop new pathways. So there's a blatant lie. So start thinking, okay, what else are they lying to us about? Why shouldn't your teeth be able to regenerate? Why do you have to have a pound of hardware in your mouth just to be able to eat? When teeth are, it's a living body, why can't it regenerate? And the truth is there is no reason why it can't. We've been programmed to believe that we can't.
Exactly.
Like we've been programmed to believe that at a certain age you're supposed to be old. Stop fighting. You're old. Stay old.
So I refuse to buy into that concept. And even before I was no longer sheeple, I refused to buy into that concept.
Yeah.
It's like I tell my kids, they'll be like, you're old. And I'll be like, I'm not old. I'm like, it's like age is a state of mind. It's, how are you taking care of yourself? It's like Stephanie earlier was talking about these women who are 60 years old who have discovered Shungite. And their skin looks beautiful, looks wonderful.
Yeah. Well,
we've been given everything that we need on this earth to keep ourselves healthy and to heal ourselves. We don't need these.
That's one of the things I've discussed in the show with Nancy. Every 7 years, you change all your body cells. That means that at no time is your physical expression more than 7 years old. So where are you getting this program that at so much time you're supposed to be degrading? It's an implanted program, and we were very obedient in accepting it. Well, revoke it, get rid of it. Unless you're interested in getting really old so you can leave the planet. That's your free will too.
And you go from there to a different dimension.
Yeah.
And then how do you know what it's going to be like there for you? So, I think we should just take it as it comes. That now I've been doing been researching hormones, and they're talking about the growth hormone. After a certain age, it starts to deplete. The same thing with a lot of other hormones. Now, my thing is I'm looking at natural ways to be able to regenerate the hormones and keep the hormones going, because my research has shown that if we take synthetic hormones or even like herbs to get those hormones going, our body then says, oh, wait, you have enough hormones, so I don't need to generate them for you. So I'll just go ahead and leave that be. So do you have any thoughts on that as far as being told that this is what's happening to your body? And, as far as
that's the fallacy of science, where they know more, they think they know more than the human body. Years ago when I was in Argentina and studying Hatha Yoga, I remember the author of the material I was studying said something truly amazing, that when you look at the human body, the miracle that it is, it's amazing what it can do, because your digestion alone, the fact that you eat a certain amount of food and the body will break it down, and it will convert parts of it into energy to sustain you, to let you grow, to repair, tissues. And it does all of that at standard atmosphere pressure between 96 degrees and maybe 100 degrees, because we're talking internal temperature, not the temperature of the skin. It's able to do all that. If you were to take, let's say, I have a test tube, and in the test tube I have a bite full of a ham sandwich. Somebody made a ham sandwich, took a bite full, and then they put it in this test tube. If I had to take that substance and break it down into the workable molecules that the body needs for energy, because everything eventually becomes ADP. You know that. That's the unit of energy, of chemical energy that the body uses, ADP, adenosine triphosphate. Everything gets reduced down to that, ADP. I would need a $10 million laboratory with very expensive equipment. I would need to work with very high pressures. I would need to work with hundreds, if not thousands of degrees Fahrenheit in the equipment to be able to take that bite of a ham sandwich and reduce it down to what the body does at regular temperature, at regular pressure. It is no human creation has ever come close to what the living body does, because it is conscious, it is aware, it is incredibly smart. And on the issue of hormones, stuff that I had informed myself on that is not that you're lacking hormones, is that there's something in the way of the hormone working. So the author of the material that I had read said that the body doesn't need hormones. It needs to be detoxed. That the more detoxing you do, then that gets out of the way of the hormone to be able to do its work. So people are taking hormones because of this, because of that. Why don't they see what is it that's not allowing your natural hormone to work? What's that getting in the way of it? And what gets in the way of it is the lifestyle that, they forced on us, negative energy in our spaces, questionable food. All of that toxicity gets in the way of your body doing its work. When I went around dowsing my house, going back to the subject of Shanghai, I'll give you an example. And I started dowsing the energy and the things coming into the house. I doused the energy of the water and the water main, negative. I doused the quality of the energy of the natural gas, negative. I doused the quality of the energy and the electrical power, negative. So I went around and I put my resonators on them. For example, when I applied it to the gas meter, I was monitoring the heating cycles on my machine. Every time the heat would engage, the cycle was 9 to 10 minutes on average. The temperature inside was 70, temperature outside was 50. So I monitor several cycles to have a steady number. So I came down to that average 9-10 minutes for the cycle. I went outside, I put the Shungite resonator on the gas meter and went back to monitoring the heating cycles. I monitored 10 cycles, one after the other. Each cycle, every time from engagement to shut off, the furnace was running 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. So I reasoned then that the reason it was achieving the same amount of work with less gas, because now the gas has positive energy. It didn't need to burn that much gas to get the same amount of work done. The water, when you remember you were talking about showering, how in 26 seconds your body absorbs whatever is in the water.
Right.
Well, when you have the Shungite on the water main, the water feels amazing. You take a shower and it literally invigorates you, because now the energy in the water is positive. So I was discussing this with Nancy and I said, well, no wonder city living is so stressful and degrading compared to country living. Everything around us has a negative energy signature. The water, the natural gas, the fuel in the car, the power coming into the house. When you put a Shungite magnet on the gas tank of the car, the engine purrs like it's a brand new car. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my vehicles are old. One is a 95, the other one's a 97. And yet, when the Shungite changes the quality of the energy in the fuel from negative to positive, the engine runs so smooth. It's amazing. And the fuel, you get better performance out of it. I just load whatever's the cheapest that I can get at the pump. I don't have to worry about, octane. So think about that. What are we surrounded by? If anything is affecting the body's ability to regenerate, it's the environment that it's in.
Right.
At least.
Right. Well, but also too, like you're talking about, that our bodies need to detox because we're prohibiting it from going ahead and regenerating those hormones. And I'll agree with that because we live in a very toxic world. I tell people all the time, you have to detox. But also what I've been learning is, if you're eating organic food and you're eating the right foods, there are certain foods that each one of our organs benefits from. Yes. That will help it to do the job that it's created to do. So that's my goal right now is I'm going to see a holistic doctor about hormones and see what she has to say. And I know she's going to want to give me a bunch of supplements. I'm just going to take the results and say thank you very much. Listen to her and see what she has to say.
Perfect example of what you're saying. If a person has blood pressure issues, whether it be low or high, get flaxseed oil. Consume flaxseed oil every day, because blood pressure in the body is regulated by the kidneys. When they're not getting the nutrients they need, the blood pressure goes out of whack. So flaxseed oil has a substance in it that's the number one nutrient for kidneys. Like my mom's sister, her blood pressure was out of control. They put her through 3 different medications because she was having little to no results despite the dosages. So we told her about it. She couldn't get it in capsules, so she was able to get it in bottles, and she was eating it with the food, like she would put it on her salad. I told her, just consume 1 or 2 tablespoons every day. And we spoke to her on the phone like 2 months after that, and she was completely weaned from the pressure medication. She was just using that every day.
Did she combine? Well, because my husband has high blood pressure and he takes flaxseed oil, but he monitors his blood pressure. And there's at times, especially recently, when it was high. Oh, I was just thinking, that's right. He ran out of flaxseed oil because we just got some more in. And I said, take the flaxseed oil. Cause he made a comment, he didn't have it. I said, take the flaxseed oil, wait an hour or 2 and take your blood pressure again and see if it doesn't come down. Yeah. Cause now today, he was on 7 blood pressure medications. Yeah. And right now he's on 4, but he's not taking them every day because he's monitoring his blood pressure. Yeah. So he's just taking it if he absolutely feels that he needs to.
Yeah.
But
like
another
example
thing working too is that he's been exercising.
That's also good for regulating the pressure.
Right. And we need that. Our society these days, we're inside too much. We sit too much. Yep. I'm hearing that sitting's become the new smoking.
Yeah. Well, another example is for people that might be diabetic. There's an Ayurvedic herb, Gemina sylvestri. It literally inside the pancreas, there's a structure called the islets of Langerhans, which is in the anatomy of the pancreas. It's the part that produces and regulates the insulin in the blood. Well, Gemina sylvestri, the consumption of that herb, literally regenerates those elements in the pancreas. So can you
spell that for me? I have a friend whose son is type 1 diabetic.
I want to give you the correct spelling, so let me just do.
She took him off of his insulin. He's 4 years old. She pulled him off of his insulin, and she's just been, watching what he eats, and that's been about it. And she's been able to control it. But we were talking about herbs. And I was telling her about making an infusion with herbs into the olive oil and that he can use that on his food. And like with the flaxseed oil, my husband just takes a teaspoon.
Oh, I know. I take the capsules. I buy the 1,500 units and I consume the capsules.
Flaxseed?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know you could get flaxseed in capsules.
Oh yeah. 1,200 units, 1,500 units.
I never heard of the herb. So this herb, what does it do now for the pancreas?
It rebuilds the islets of Langerhans, which it's if you study the anatomy of the pancreas is not just a uniform tissue. It actually has an anatomy. Inside of it, it has these structures called, it looks like little islands inside the tissue, and they call it the islets of Langerhans. And that's the part of the pancreas that actually processes and regulates the insulin in the blood so that there's not too much and there's not too little. That's what gets affected in a diabetic person. So the consumption of this herb literally regrows those. It regenerates that tissue.
So do you know how this herb should be used? I mean, should it be used in an infusion? Should it be?
They sell them in capsules. You can buy them in capsules and you can just muscle test how many capsules you need. I mean, I do muscle testing for everything because I want the body to tell me, do you want this? Yes or no? And if the body says no, I'm not taking it.
Yeah, see, and that's something I don't know how to do yet, is that muscle testing.
It's very simple.
I've got a huge bucket list of things that I want to learn how to do. So if it's that simple, can you tell us on the show? We don't have much time. Oh my gosh, it's 4:48. We don't have a lot of time, but can you quickly explain to us how we can muscle test something?
The muscle testing? Okay. I want to turn on the cameras. Hold on. So I know that the audience cannot see me, but you'll be able to see me. And, okay. So let me turn on the camera here. Okay. So for muscle testing of even, you can do this for food. Like if you're not sure, should I be consuming this food or nutrient?
Wolf is scratching his head. Wolf is standing up.
Putting substance over your spleen. The spleen is the area below the left breast.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, I'm just gonna take this little bit of paper, and let's say this bit of paper is some medicine or something. So I'm gonna put it here.
Camera's not on.
I don't need your camera to be on. I need you to see me. Can you see me?
No, your camera is not on.
I can see it.
JP is seeing me.
I can't. How come I can't see it? Oh, cause
Come to the screen.
I got it. Hold on. I didn't know I had to accept. Well, cause I didn't have to for JP. Okay. Now it's on.
Okay. So it's this area of the abdomen, below the left breast. This is where the spleen is located. So let's say I wanted this were a bit of medicine and I wanted to test it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the medicine against this part, hold it with the forearm against the body, and then I'm just going to make a circle with my thumb and index finger, and I'm going to make another one with the other hand. So they're like a chain. See?
Uh-huh.
So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold them firmly. I don't need to squeeze the life out of my fingers. I just need to hold them firmly. And if my body wants this substance I'm holding with my forearm against my body, I will pull and they don't separate. No matter how much I try to pull, they tend to stick. But if I'm putting something against my body, I'll take this little box and it says, oh no, I don't want this, get that away from me. No matter how tightly you keep your fingers, this will happen. It'll separate. So that's a no. Your body's saying, no, I don't want this, don't give it to me. So that's what I do with nutrients and supplements when I go down to the store. I know which ones are good or I know which ones I might want, but the body has the last word. You don't want this? Okay, I'm not going to give it to you. It knows better than me.
Okay, now earlier you were talking about dowsing. Now I've heard of another way of doing that is just by using your body. So like when I needed to rid the house of negativity, I couldn't get a smudging stick. So I thought, oh, essential oils. Why can't I use that? And I, just get some sage essential oils. And I found out how I could make a spray. And my oil lady didn't have any sage, but she had 2 other ones. So she was like, well, just, use this dowsing method to find out how to do it. So what she had me do was hold my right hand over my heart chakra and then put one of the oils in my left hand, stand in a quiet place with my eyes closed, and then just say out loud, do I need juniper to cleanse my house of negativity? And if the answer is yes, then your body starts going forward.
That's muscle testing.
Okay. Is that right? Your body goes forward for a yes and backwards for no?
It depends. You have to establish the convention yourself. You establish the rules, what yes will look like, what no will look like.
And how do you do that?
Just ask for it.
Well, like I said, for example, when my fingers, I established that if the body wants this substance, my fingers will not separate.
Okay.
And if the fingers separate, then my body is telling me no. I'm establishing that baseline.
So there's different ways that you could do muscle testing, yes?
Oh yeah. There's no set rules. In fact, I don't like it when people force their rules on you and say, oh, if you don't get this, then it's not. No, that's not right. It's your body. You should establish what the convention is for the results. If it's a no, I don't know, maybe, your left thigh will twitch. If it's a no, or if it's a yes, maybe your right thigh twitch. You're the one who knows your body. So therefore you will establish what the muscle reactions will be for the yes, no, because the questions are always going to be yes, no. You can't ask the body to sit down and write the Gettysburg Address. No way.
Yeah, you can't ask why questions. And actually part of the whole spirit of dowsing is understanding that eventually it comes down, you get a much clearer way of thinking about things by asking the right questions. You learn how to ask good questions. And
exactly.
It's a really good skill, isn't it?
Asking questions is a tremendously powerful skill because just like nature abhors a vacuum, the universe abhors a question unanswered. And that's why when you focus on a specific question, you start your manifesting engines kick on. Like when you start asking the question, what would it feel like if I had no debt? What would it feel like? And you just keep filling your head with that until there's nothing else. And then all of a sudden it hits you. You begin to feel the swell of feeling inside you. It feels great. It feels liberating. It feels relieving. It feels delicious. And you start breathing deeper. You might end up sighing. You might end up moaning. And that's the energy coming to you. The universe is responding. And that's how you start molding the reality. Reality comes to you based on what signature you're putting out. So
I am still trying to get that into my husband's head to understand that. Cause he'll say things and I'm like, don't say that. That's negative. And he's like, but it's the truth. I'm like, but you're going to make it the truth because you keep saying it.
Yeah.
So he's getting there little by little, but he's still, and I'm trying to explain to him, you've got to believe it. You got to feel it. You got to think it. You got to utilize all your senses.
It's the feeling though. You just have to feel it. It's about being it. And feeling is the best way to get to being
thought
it,
gives
isn't
it
that?
form. The mind gives forms to things, but the feeling is the fuel that makes the machine run. It's the gas in the gas tank of the car. That's why many people spend years visualizing something and nothing ever happened. But did you put any passion behind it? No, but I've been thinking about it for 10 years. Well, it's just a thought. It's just an image. You put your passion behind it, it's going to manifest in a matter of days.
We only have 5 minutes left, but I want to share this. I heard a story about a man who wanted to travel, and instead of a vision board, he created like a vision binder where he kept pictures and wrote down things about different places that he wanted to go. And every morning he would get up, he would pack his suitcase, and he would go to the airport. And he just did this every single day. And then one day his boss came to him and he said, we have this new position open for travel. Would you be interested in taking it? Well, at one point he was in this place and he realized that this was one of the places that he actually had put into his vision binder. I just thought that was really powerful. You want to talk about really acting like it. And even all the greats, Jack Canfield, Zig Ziglar, you got to become what you want to be. If you want to become.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And if you look at all those stories, where was their attention placed? Where was their attention placed? The attention was placed on what they wanted to manifest, not on what they don't have.
Exactly. And they were acting, and I've heard of multiple people doing this, they were acting as if they already had what they wanted.
Dr. Costa did that with his oldest son, David. His son wanted to, he wanted to work for a notary firm. I don't know where he got this idea. He wanted to work for a notary firm. He was 19 years old, fresh out of high school, and he didn't know how to go about getting this job. So his father said, come down to the office and you're going to be pulling out weeds from the garden in front of the building, but you're pulling out weeds, but you have to accept and believe and say to yourself, I'm working in a notary office. So the kid came and he did this for like 3 days straight. On the third day, this man who knew the doctor came in looking for him to invite him to lunch. And he's looking at the son and he says, oh, hi, David. What are you doing? Because here he's dressed with his shirt and tie and dress shoes and he's pulling weeds out of the garden. And he says, what are you doing? He says, oh, I'm working for a notary office. And the man thought that he was being put on. And he says, what? What are you doing again? Oh, I'm working for a notary office. And he goes, okay, I'll see you later. So he went upstairs looking for Dr. Costa and he's asking him about what's going on outside. And he says, oh no, I'm just showing David how to manifest the job that he wants. So they go out to lunch, and when they come back from lunch, it turns out that this man owned a notary office and he offered David a job.
That's awesome.
So he did it. He manifested the job that he wanted.
So have you been able to manifest your life?
Yes. I'm not paying mortgage. I don't have credit cards. I don't use banks. I'm living the life. I was amazed when I lost my job. I was actually making more money. I actually had more money in my hand after my job was dissolved than when I was working full time.
So now, what about a mortgage? Do you have a mortgage?
No, it disappeared. The mortgage was signed off, discharged, and it was bought by a collection agency, and collection agencies by law cannot own a mortgage. And they made the strategic mistake of recording themselves as owner in the county records. So when I got my certificate of title, they show up as owners of the mortgage, and they're a collection agency. They're not a lender. They're not a bank. They're not a credit institution. So they put their foot in it. You cannot enforce something that doesn't exist.
That's amazing. Well, I'd like to talk to you more about this because, that's kind of like the lifestyle we're going for I'd kind of like to know how you got to where you're not dealing with banks, because that's a tricky thing, especially right now with my husband still working, even though I'm trying to show him he's brainwashed in certain areas. Other areas he's totally awake, Yeah. But
I don't hold it against him because I was exactly the same way. I was under the program that you couldn't live without a job, that you had to have employment, something 9 to 5, because that was what the system required of you. So right. Does it happen overnight? No, but it took me a couple of years to deprogram myself.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. It doesn't finish, really, does it? But this program has to finish. Just to kind of drag you into the now. It's 22:59. We really have to go and move on.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Walt.
Thank you for having me, Joyce.
Thank you, Walt, for coming on. I appreciate it. JP, thank you for your input. You've been listening to It's Your Life, Live It to the Fullest. I'm your host, Joyce Wheeler. It is Sunday, April 24th, 2016. Go check out heavenlybody7.com and itsyourlifemag.com, and also go to Cosmic Reality for your Shungite. Y'all have a good night, day, morning. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.